Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing Indian Express newspaper. Sorry for the delay. There was certain issues because of which there was this delay. So anyway, we will start and we will not waste any more time. So let's start with the today's newspaper. We will start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, and then we will move forward with the other important articles of the day. One is related to your voting rules for accused in jail. When we are talking about those people who are accused in any particular case and they are in the jail or in the judicial custody or the police custody, in such cases what can be the okay, so what can be the criteria that person can vote or not, can they contest election or not? These provisions we will be talking about with respect to the representation of people's act. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing is PM to be in Kanyakumari. Now after every election campaign, PM used to go for certain you can say he used to take a vacation. So this time he will be going to Kanyakumari, okay, for meditation etc. Now that is not important for us. What is important is that there was certain significance which has been attached to it, okay, and there is this reference of Vivekanand also is there. So with that respect, this becomes a question of history for us, and that is why it is important to discuss this article. We will discuss only 2 or 3 things which is important from this, okay. Then digital competition bill. We have already talked about this digital competition bill, but recently the big tech companies has raised certain issues. We will talk about that, okay. We will not go into very much details of it because this has always already been discussed, so we will not waste much time over here. This is the front page of the day. So we have already talked about this heat waves etc which is going on in throughout India, okay, and specifically when we are talking about Delhi, the temperature has been nearly around 50 degrees Celsius in certain areas. So that is a cause of concern, but again these are some environmental there are environmental factors and the climate change etc responsible for that, so we cannot do much about it, okay. So since we have already discussed it yesterday, so we will not go into details of it as well, okay. So you can watch yesterday's video, okay. Now moving further, we will see around the world. There is one news article which has already been discussed, but again the newspaper of the day was quite repetitive, so we will still take it, and then last will be our practice question. Now let's see the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, that was related to your monsoon. Where does the monsoon strike first on the territory of India? When we are talking about the territory here, they are talking about the all the territory including mainland India as well as the islands of India, okay. So when we consider the islands along with this, then Andaman and Nicobar island is the one where monsoon strikes first. That will be around May 20th or something, okay. But when we are talking about the mainland India, Kerala is the first state wherein monsoon will be striking first, and that will be around 1st of June, okay. So that is about this particular question. Here you can say this is the map is given over here. So this is how this monsoon waves are coming like this, and then they will enter like this, okay, and then it will move northwards towards the areas of Madhya Pradesh and Delhi. Delhi will face monsoons nearly around 20th of June or somewhere around that. So that is about this particular picture, okay. Now starting with the first article of the day, which is talking about the why an accused in jail can contest elections but cannot vote in an election, okay. So there are certain cases in which it has been discussed, okay, hold on. There are certain cases in which Supreme Court has discussed all these factors, okay. But again, I'll give you the brief idea about it. Recently what has happened is in Punjab there is this constituency Khadur Sahib Lok Sabha seat on which there is a person who is in jail, that is Amritpal Singh, head of pro Khalistani outfit, that is Waris Punjab De. Okay, so this pro Khalistani outfit is there and he is the leader of this particular outfit, and he is in jail for some kind of, you can say, allegations or the charges which has been framed on him. And the thing is, he is not yet convicted, okay. So our jurisprudence or our judicial system says that until proven guilty, okay, the person should be considered as an innocent, okay. Now he has contested the election from the jail, and the campaigning has been done by their family. Now the question is that when a person who is inside the jail cannot vote, how can he contest the election, okay. So that is there, so we will talk about that. So this is about one thing. Second, when we are talking about there are certain cases like Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, we will discuss. Other than that, there is another case which is not much relevant for you, but there is this in reference designated courts for MP MLAs for High Court. Okay, so that has been a reference case which has been taken by the Supreme Court to the, or a, you can say a kind of order has been given to the High Courts. Okay, so let's start with the your article over here. Among the candidates for the Khadur Sahib Lok Sabha seat that goes to polls with the rest of Punjab on Saturday is Amrit Pal, the head of pro Khalistan outfit Waris Punjab De. Amrit Pal Singh is currently in jail in Dibrugad, Assam. Okay, and his campaign is being led by the family. Amrit Pal does not have right to vote because he is in jail. So a person who is in jail, he does not have a right to vote. Now why is that? Because whenever we are talking about the people who are having some kind of charges, okay, so they are kept out of the election areas, okay, so that there is no chaos, etc. So when we are talking about these people, there is a restriction on their right to movement, or you can say right to move freely. Okay, so considering that, since they are in jail, they cannot go outside. So that is why it is there that you cannot vote. Other than that, also when we are talking about voting rights are statutory rights. These are not you can say constitutional right. When we are talking about the free and fair elections, it is given in the constitution, or you can say Supreme Court via their judgments. They have said that that right to vote is basically a, you can say, legal right, and it is not a constitutional right. Okay, on the other hand, when we talk about the free and fair elections, Supreme Court has said that it is the part of basic structure. Now these right to vote and the concept of free and fair elections, they are not on the same footing. Okay, one is a legal right, one is a constitution's basic structure. Okay, so similarly in the Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan case, it was said that the free and fair election is the, you can say, basic structure of the constitution, but it is not on the same par with the right to vote and right to contest elections, because that can be curtailed by the parliament. Okay, it is in the prerogative of parliament to check someone's right to vote or right to contest. Okay, so considering that, you can say that there are laws which says that a person in jail cannot vote, and there are disqualification laws as well, that person cannot you can say contest. If a person who is convicted of a crime, okay, that person cannot contest the election after finishing their sentence up to 6 years. Okay, now coming to the this part again. Now Amritpal does not have a right to vote. How can he have right to be elected to the parliament? What laws applies here to the voters and the candidate who are imprisoned? We will talk about two important laws over here. One, we will talk about section 8 of the Representation of the People Act over here, and second, we will be talking about subclause 5 of the section 62 of Representation of People Act. Okay, now coming to the statutory rights here, Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, as I told you, free and fair elections are part of basic structure of the constitution. On the other hand, it is said that neither the right to elect nor to be elected enjoyed the same status. That is, they are saying that it is not enjoying the constitutional status, they are basically legal rights. Here you can say right to vote or elect is pure and simple a statutory right. Okay, voting is not a fundamental right and can be denied. Okay, same applies to right to be elected. Now these are to be controlled by the laws enacted by the parliament, and they could regulate through the statutory legislation, and one of such legislation is your Representation of Peoples Act 1951. Okay, which put a curtail, or which curtails or put a bar on the rights of a person to, you can say, contest elections. Okay, so one such thing is, here you can say, section 8 of the Representation of the People Act 1951 provides for disqualification from contesting election to the parliament or state assemblies on conviction for certain offences. Now they are saying that on conviction. In this case, when we are talking about Amritpal Singh, who is contesting the election, he is not disqualified because he is not yet convicted. There are charges which has been framed, and he is in the custody, he is in the jail, but he is not convicted yet, and that is why he can go for the contestation of the election. Here you can say this the disqualification applies from the date of the conviction and continues for the 6 year after the end of the sentence. Okay, so let's say there is this particular date on which a person was convicted. Okay, from that particular day he will be disqualified from to contesting the elections. Okay, from that particular point of time he will be disqualified, and he will be disqualified till you can say 6 years from the end of the sentence. Okay, he has gone out of the jail, he has served the you can say punishment, and then he has came out of the jail, but still after that also up to 6 years he will be disqualified. So that is the law which is given in the section 8 of the Representation of the People's Act. Okay, now here you can see the bar on contesting election kicks only after the person has been convicted, not if they are only charged with criminal offences, which is the case in this particular example here, that is Amarpal Singh. Section 8 of the Representation of People Act has faced two major challenges. Okay, now this might not be very important for your prelims, but yes, when we are talking about your mains, it can be important. Here you can see in 2011 the non-profit public interest foundation filed a petition arguing that the person against whom criminal charges has been framed or who have filed a false affidavit regarding their criminal history should be disqualified. They are saying that a person who has been or against whom FIR has been filed and there is a charges which has been framed, in that case that person should be disqualified. Other than that also, if he has not disclosed the information about the criminal cases against him, in that case also he should be disqualified. Okay, now court at that point of time said that it is for the legislature to decide, because when we are talking about the restrictions which are put forward by the Representation of People Act 1951, these restrictions has been put by a statutory law or a parliamentary law. Okay, so Supreme Court said that making a law is a prerogative of parliament, that is not our prerogative, so that is for parliament to decide. That is the one thing which they have actually discussed. Second thing is, in 2016 a petition seeking permanent disqualification for convicted person. Okay, so second petition, they are saying that all those people who has been once convicted, they should not be allowed to go for the elections. Okay, now the you can say order is not yet come, this proceeding is ongoing till now. Okay, and taking note of the delay in the criminal cases against MPs and MLAs, considering the cases which are there in India, so there are delays which are going on in the conviction, because until you have the conviction you cannot be disqualified. Okay, so that is why there is this tendency that these political leaders who are in the power, they can influence the you can say procedure at that point of time, and they can go for delay. And considering that, here court has said that all the chief justice of all high courts to register a suo motu case title in reference designated courts for MPs and MLA for HC, and to issue direction for the expeditious and effective disposal of the cases. So basically they are saying that the faster delivery of justice should be there, and that is why they have said that in cases wherein MPs and MLAs are involved, there should be a faster you can say judicial proceeding, and that is why they have said that court can go for a suo motu action over here, and they can register this you can say a suo motu case. When we are talking about such suo motu cases, there will be this title that is basically in reference, then there will be the designated court for MPs and MLAs. Okay, you would have to remember this. Now coming to the next part, that is exception to the provisions. Now Election Commission of India has this power to you can say allow someone to go for the contestation of the election. Here you can see Election Commission of India is empowered under section 11 of Representation of People Act to remove or reduce the period of disqualification. In 2019, Election Commission of India used this power to reduce period of disqualification in case when Sikkim's Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamang was facing disqualifications. Okay, so that is one example. If you add examples in your answer writing, that will make your answer way more. Okay, so that is one exception. Second exception over here is that here you can say another situation where disqualified MP or MLAs can contest arises if the conviction is stayed by the appeal to the High Court. Now let's see, there is this particular court who has gone for the conviction, and they have gone to the High Court, and High Court put a stay on the conviction. Since the stay is put on the conviction, that means that High Court will decide on that. Okay, so since conviction is stayed, so anything which is resulted because of the you can say this particular conviction, that will also stay. Okay, so similarly if the conviction is stayed, then that person, that disqualification will also stay, and ultimately that person can go for the go for the elections. Okay, such example is the Ranjit Singh, former BSP MP, who has been convicted for kidnapping, and then he has gone to High Court and gone for the appeal over there, and High Court has stayed the conviction, and because of which he could go for the elections. Okay, now no voting right for the jailed. Now till now we have talked about those people who are basically who can go for the contestation of the election or who can contest the election. Now we are talking about those people who are inside the jail, whether they can vote or not. So here answer is simple, that those people who are inside the jail, okay, they are not supposed to vote. There is this particular provision, subclause 5 of section 62 of RPA, which says that no person shall vote at any elections if he is confined in prison, whether under a sentence of imprisonment, transportation or otherwise, or is in lawful custody of the police. Okay, so basically if he is in jail, judicial custody, lawful custody, or any kind of transportation, or if he is going for some kind of sentence, in such cases if he is in jail, then he will not be able to vote. Okay, now one exception is there, that is preventive detention. Okay, if a person is there in the under the preventive detention, then he is supposed to vote. So that is one exception over here. Other than that, this particular provision bars every individual who has criminal charges framed against them from casting their vote unless they have been released on bail or have been acquitted. Okay, so until unless they are in jail, they will not be able to vote for. So whenever a person is in jail, that means that charges has been framed. Okay, once charges has been framed, until either he is on a bail or he has been acquitted of such charges, he cannot be able to vote. Okay, but he can contest elections if he is not been convicted yet. Okay, now there is this another case in 1997. Supreme Court rejected a challenge to the section 62 clause 5 in the case of Ankul Chandra Pradhan versus Union of India. The court reaffirmed that the right to vote was statutory right and could be subjected to statutory limitations. Okay, if a person who is in prison, a person in prison because of the conduct cannot claim equal freedom of the movement, speech and expressions, and that restriction on the prisoner's right to vote are reasonable and they are linked to the keeping person with criminal background away from the election scenes. Okay, so that is there, that that person cannot claim right to freedom as par with the another people because he has a past which is attached to it, or you can say there are something criminal background, and such people should be stayed out of the election scenes, and that is why you can say their right to vote can be restricted or reasonably restricted over here. Okay, so that is about this article. Two takeaways are there. One, a person who is convicted cannot go for contesting a election. That is one thing. Second thing, a person who is in jail, okay, but not convicted, he can go for the contestation of the election. That is second thing. Third, a person who is in jail and charges has been framed, okay, he cannot vote. He can contest election, but he cannot vote. Okay, so that is about it. Okay, so now we can move further to the next article. Now PM to be in Kanyakumari for the meditation break after the wrapping of the campaign. He has done that earlier as well. Okay, so when we are talking about 2019 election, he went to Kedarnath. In 2014, he went to Pratapgarh. Okay, and this time he will be going to Kanyakumari. Okay. Now, why we have taken this article is because there is such you can special reference of Vivekananda in this article. Okay, so Prime Minister Narendra Modi's destination is said to be Vivekananda Rock Memorial in Kanyakumari. Now this is the place where he will be going for the, you can say, meditation. He will stay there from May 30th to June 1st to meditate. Okay. Now he has gone to Lakshadweep. We have seen that, and that is why Lakshadweep has been in news, which is also important. Now here you can say Modi's visit to Kanyakumari holds a significant spiritual and the symbolic weight for his followers, as Kanyakumari is where Swami Vivekananda claimed to have a vision of Bharat Mata. Okay, so this vision of Bharat Mata or United Bharat is actually the, you can say, a vision which has been, or you can say Swami Vivekananda was blessed with this particular vision over here in Kanyakumari. So that is why this particular you can say statement is important, because I remember that UPSC has asked that our national anthem, which has been you can say translated from Bangla to Hindi or in the present form. So it was done in a particular place somewhere in Kerala. Okay, and UPSC has asked about this particular question. Okay, so there are chances that they can ask you this as well. So please remember that. That is important. It was here that Vivekananda arrived after wandering across the country and meditated for 3 days and hit upon attaining a vision for a developed India. Okay, so here developed India or Viksit Bharat, that is the motto of Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi as well. So that is why it becomes, or you can say it shows the kind of dedication he has for the developing or developed India. Okay, it shows PM's commitment to bringing Swamiji's vision of Viksit Bharat to life. Okay. Now, goddess Parvati also meditated here at the same place on one foot as she waited for Bhagwan Shiv. That is the, you can say, theological or the spiritual angle which is attached to it. Okay, so basically this is a signal which Mr. Modi is sending of to the nation. That is a signal of national unity by going to Kanyakumari. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and this is this much is important from you. That is these two paragraphs you can read. And now moving further to the next article. Okay, so this article is basically related with the US lobby group opposes India's antitrust proposal on big tech. Okay, so basically here when we are talking about this antitrust proposal, that is they are talking about this bill, that is your digital competition bill. We have talked about this. In this particular bill, what we are trying to do is those companies which are in the digital social media and you can say digital technologies, etc., if they are having some kind of preferential treatment to their own products, etc., or if they are not allowing any third party, okay, and there is some kind of monopoly which has been created in the market. So to make sure that they do not take the undue advantage of that particular thing, or there can be any kind of fraudulent practices in the market when it comes to the competition. Okay, so since we have Competition Commission of India, and on the similar line we will be talking about the competition in the digital market as well, digital field as well. So that is why we have this digital competition bill to control the big you can say tech firms, okay, like Google, Apple, which are having some kind of inherent advantage over here. Okay, so in that regard we have said that we will be coming up with a bill. Now the big companies which are basically having a lobby in USA, that is US lobby group representing big tech giants like Amazon, Google, Apple, has asked India to rethink its proposed EU like competition law, okay, arguing regulations against data use and the preferential treatment of partner could raise a user cost. Okay, so what they are saying that if you are going for the, you can say, such things, or if you are going for this particular bill, there will be a cost which will increase because the preferential treatment they give to their own products, which will come down, and ultimately their profit might get hampered, and that is why they have said that user cost will increase, and ultimately that user cost will fall on the consumer. Okay, so that is why they have said that India to rethink it. Okay, here you can say government panel in February proposed imposing obligation on them under a new antitrust law which will complement existing regulations whose enforcement is time consuming. When we are talking about the current you can say whatever provisions they are there, that is time consuming, and that is why they have come up with the, you can say, new provisions with the antitrust laws, or you can say digital competition bill. Here you can see the digital competition bill is on the line of EU's landmark Digital Markets Act, that is antitrust act which is there in EU. Okay, that is a bit you can say harsh, and we have actually on that line we have started to go for similar regulations over here, and that applies to big firms including those with the global turnover over 30 billion. So there are 2-3 criteria. If a company is there which is having a global you can say turnover more than 30 billion US dollars, and other than that you can say there is whose digital service has at least 10 million as a user base. Okay, so that is the number of users which are using this particular services by them. So such companies will be included under the ambit of your digital competition bill. Other than that, one more thing is that the Competition Commission of India has the discretion on adding another companies as well, if even if they are not following these particular, you can say, parameters. Okay, now it proposes to prohibit companies from exploiting non-public data for its user and promoting their own services over the rivals. As I told you, promoting their own services, or you can say a preferential treatment to their own services. Okay, so that has been actually curtailed under this provisions of the digital competition bill. Okay, so other than that, abolish restriction on the downloading of the third party apps. Okay, like when we are talking about the systems like phone of iOS like Apple, etc., they have their own you can say store. Apple store is there, they will not be taking apps from the Play Store. Okay, so such things will be you can say discouraged under this particular bill. Okay, now targeted companies are likely to reduce investment in India, pass on increased prices for the digital services and the reduced range of the services. So basically that will be the impact if this provisions comes out. There are companies which might not feel incentivized to come and invest in India. So what they will do is they will invest less in India. Second thing is they will increase the prices of the digital services, that will fall on the consumers. Third is they can reduce the range of services as well. Now USIBC, that is basically when we are talking about this particular USIBC, that is US India, or you can say there is this particular grouping over there is that, okay, that is US India Business Council, US India Business Council, which has asked India to reconsider the planned law. Okay, here you can say with a population of 1.4 billion people and a growing affluent class, India is lucrative market for the big tech companies. The new law is needed as a few large digital enterprises wield immense control over the markets. Okay, so here that is the question of monopoly and the competition, and that is why we are coming up with this law, so that the small startup can also get some kind of you can say incentives to invest in that to come forward. Okay, as in the EU is recommending a penalty for up to 10% of the company's annual global turnover for violations. So basically what they are saying that if there is a violation, okay, so there can be a penalty up to 10% of the company's annual global turnovers as well. Okay, the Competition Commission of India has for years been investigating the big firms. When we are talking about anything related to monopoly or the unfair practices in the market, or the any kind of unhealthy competition is there, that is Competition Commission of India is the body which is taking care of it. Okay, now moving further, RBI launches retail direct mobile application fintech repository. Okay, so there are three things which has been started by RBI. You don't have to go into details of it, just know that there is a web based portal to seek authorization, that is Pravaha. There is a Pravaha portal. So this will be acting as a single window portal wherein you can go for the authorization or the licensing, etc. Here you can see Prava is a secure and centralized web based portal for any individual or entity to seek authorization, license or regulatory approval or any reference made by the RBI to it. Okay, so that is one thing. Second is direct mobile app to provide retail investors seamless access to G securities, government security transactions. Okay, so basically when we are talking about transactions in the government security, they have come up with a mobile app for that. Okay, third is repository with the information on the Indian fintech firms. Okay, fintech companies or the fintech firms which are dealing in the financial services with the use of technology. So companies like NBFCs or these companies which are giving instant loans, etc. So for such you can say thing, there is a repository wherein information will be provided on the authorizations, on the you can say genuineness of these fintech companies. Okay, so these three things are basically new initiatives which has been taken by the RBI. Okay, now moving further here, Reliance to buy Russian oil in rubles. Okay, so basically there is this agreement which has happened between the Indian firm, that is Reliance, and then when we are talking about Russian oil, so since OPEC, when we are talking about OPEC plus, okay, so this is the grouping of you can say Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Okay, so when we are talking about OPEC plus, here there are another countries are also included. Russia is also part of that. Okay, so these are the you can say countries which are deciding on the you can say production and the production limits and the prices. So ultimately we can say that on recently they have said that they will be going for the cap on the production. Okay, and because of which the prices might increase, because whenever supply is reduced in the market, there will be high demand, and demand is high, that means that price will also increase. Considering that Russia has said that Reliance Industry has signed a 1-year deal with Russia's Rosneft to buy at least 3 million barrels of oil a month in rubles. Rubles is basically in a particular this particular currency. Now when we are talking about the why in rubles actually, so because that there are economic sanctions which are put on the put forward by the USA on Russia, and because of which trade in US dollar is quite complicated over here, and that is why they are trading in other country currencies. They have also gone for the trade in rupees, they have gone in the trade in dirhams and Chinese yuan, now rubles. Okay, so that is the article about. Okay, now when we are talking about India, India is the world's third largest oil importer and the consumer, and has become the biggest buyer of the seaborne Russian crude since the West halted the purchases and imposed sanctions. Okay, after the Western countries they have stopped taking oil from Russia, India has become the largest importer of oil from Russia. Okay, and obviously our most of the demands, or nearly 80% of the demands of our oil is basically fulfilled by the imports, and that is why if Russia is giving you cheap oil, so that is in our favor only. Okay. So that is about this article. Please go through this particular organization, which countries are part of this OPEC plus. That is your homework. Now moving further, for your own read, there is this for your own read, there is this article which is saying that Spain, Norway and Ireland formally recognized Palestine. Okay, so we have already talked about it, and that is why here you can see that it is a signal to the world, because now Western countries like this, they are also going, they are feeling sympathetic towards the cause of Palestine. Okay, and that is all coming amid the all the war crimes which are happening in the Gaza area. Okay, so there is nothing much to discuss over here because we have already talked about these things. So please remember the name: Spain, Norway, Ireland. Okay, so that is about it. Next, for your own read, there is this there was this article which we have already discussed, that was for your own read. But again, the last part is basically your practice question, that is, where did Swami Vivekananda famously meditated and attain the enlightenment, making a pivotal moment in his spiritual journey? Okay, Varanasi, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Kanyakumari. Now this question is from current affairs, no doubt. Okay, but they have molded it in a such a way that they it might think that it is a question from history. Okay, so definitely it is not from history. Obviously it is attached to history, but again, this is how they ask questions in UPSC. They will take the issue from the newspaper and they will attach it with the, you can say, your GS topics or the general syllabus. Okay, this is what I got backward linkages. So basically for every news which we cover, there is a backward linkage, there is a part of static which is covered in your static syllabus. So ultimately you have to focus on that as well. Like I told you, you can go and check about OPEC plus because that has been talked about. So ultimately they might ask you a question about that as well. Okay, so you will attempt this question and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it.